Hey guys, welcome back to the neighborhood. It's been a long time coming, but we're finally taking a look at the FiiO FH3 today. For a while now, whenever I do a video about an IEM around $100 to the $200 price range, I inevitably get the questions and statements like, but what about the FH3? And please review the FH3. Well, today's finally that day, so let's get into it. So the build here is a little different than I expected. The shell appears to be made of a lightweight aluminum that FiiO classifies as an aerospace grade aluminum. So these things are pretty lightweight and disappear comfortably in my ears as a result. I always thought that these were black from pictures, but they're actually a deep navy blue color, say something like the Mass Drop navy blue. They have an MMCX connection, and the angle of the nozzle is a bit aggressive in its angle, making it somewhat difficult to use with certain tips for me. But my preferred tips for this set fit without problems. While the tips that came in the box were fine, and there were many, I found that I preferred RHA dual density silicones or Ludos foam tips with this set the most. But for the sake of this review, presume that all sound descriptions will be in reference to using RHA dual density tips here. The cable that the FH3 comes with is somewhat of a thick sheath, straight line, silver plated copper cable, and it is single-ended, terminating in a very nice right-angled 3.5mm connector. The cable was easy to use and I had no problems with either its sound nor its comfort. I did attempt to run things balanced using an alternative cable, but perceived no sonic benefits from going balanced with this particular case, as the FH3 doesn't appear to be power hungry or anything like that. The drivers utilized here are two Knowles drivers and a 10mm beryllium plated dynamic, so this is a hybrid configuration, but a mostly coherent one. A nice but large hard plastic clamshell case and a small cloth zippered pouch and a cleaning tool also come in the package. This is largely the accessory package that comes with the Jade Audio EA1 and EA3, but with a nicer cable, the additional clamshell case, a cleaning tool, and a third silicone tip type in addition to some foams. So, for the money, you get a nice stylish package here that is well thought out by FiiO. So let's get into the sound, because for the $130 price tag and below, these are in some rare company, with some of the best in the price range. So let's start things out with some comparisons here. The cheapest thing that keeps up with the FH3 is the TFZ number 3 with a cable swap and a tip change to JVC spiral dots. The number 3 bests the FH3 in terms of low end and macro dynamics, but the FH3 has a wider staging and even more pleasing upper mid-range. The next best comparison would be between the FH3 and the Tri-Star C. While the Star C supersedes the FH3 in articulation, layering, resolution, and clarity, it is also a more analytical IEM, and it lacks the sub-bass presence that is found in the FH3. And the FH3 is substantially more musical and might be perceived as less intensive or fatiguing to the ear by some. Compared to the Tin Hi-Fi T3, there is some additional weight to the FH3's presentation overall, and also enhanced clarity due to its additional hybrid BA-infused design. Furthermore, the FH3 is somewhat smoother and less harsh in its upper mid-range even compared to the T4, even if it may be less consistent in its presentation in this region, which we'll get into a bit later. But regarding the sound profile, let's start things off with the bass. The bass of the FH3 is sub-bass focused, and its impact is somewhat on the softer side of things, but also with a decent amount of weight to it as well. Yet, compared to something like the Blessing 2, there is considerably more heft to the FH3's dynamic range, making it just as easy to listen to as the Moondrop, but more satisfying across a wider variety of genres. This is not a quick bass, but it isn't overly sluggish either. It does well with rumble, and it's characterized by a pillow-like soft texture which warms over the range somewhat like a comfortable blanket. In terms of suggestions, I would specifically like to see more representation from the FH3's mid-bass and upper bass regions, while generally I would like to see some additional bass detailing and overall low end here as well, especially given that the FH3 makes use of a beryllium dynamic. But there is nonetheless a sufficient amount of opaque information offered here, which is mostly easy to InToIt or interpret by the listener. The mid-range is smooth, creamy, and mostly laid back in its tones. The frequency response rises in a natural way and inoffensive manner, but from about 3K forward, things tend to get a bit wonky here or there, and on certain tracks the presence and lower brilliance region can suffer and produce confusing sonics. On a frequency response graph, these things look a bit like a roller coaster ride from 3K onward, and sometimes things come across oddly in the music. For example, on the track The Sleeper by Diamond Head, guitars sound like they're awkwardly going in and out of phase at times, and these portions of the track sound less wonky and truer to life on most other sets that I've tested. The beginning of The Loneliest Road by Grand Funk Railroad was similarly difficult for the FH3 to maneuver, resulting in ungraceful acoustics during this song's playback. Vocals are well centered, but more in the mix than pushed forward for both male and female vocals alike. The treble is unfatiguing and inoffensive. It is rolled from about 8K onward, and while this may be seen as an early decline by some, it does extend decently well into the upper brilliance region. This doesn't have the most air past 10K, but there is enough information to provide soft yet articulate detailing to the listener without ever beating him or her over the head with this type of intensity. Snaps, claps, and block strikes do have sufficient energy due to the peak around 15K, but sonics are never shrill, sharp, sibilant, or strident. This IEM definitely plays a bit for Team Darkside, but its balanced armatures are always pleasant and enjoyable to my ears. Overall tonality is warm and moderately lush. Like macrodynamics, microdynamics are slightly below average. Staging is relatively wide, but with only moderate depth and height to the overall picture. Compared to the TriStar C, layering and separation is less complex, resulting in a more flat acoustic picture than a 3D image. But the FH3's staging is broader from the listening position and more akin to something like the Chauzy Rouge. Imaging tracks well from left to right, and overall separation, detailing, and resolution capabilities are above average for the $110 to $130 price range, but more average compared to other standouts as prices edge towards $200 and beyond. Nevertheless, for the price, the FH3 is technically capable and musical to boot, making it a value at its price and worth its cost in the end. So, to sum it all up, the FH3 is a warm and engaging earphone that plays a bit for Team Darkside. It is pleasing to the ear and technically capable enough for its price, making it a joy to listen to. It has a respectably wide stage and will be a great option for a non-fatiguing, pleasant, everyday listening experience for most people. Its rugged metal housing and exhaustive accessory package are suggestive of this, as are its inoffensive sonics. But, like in all in-ear monitors, it may not please everyone, especially those that are on the hunt for above average dynamics, additional resolution, or more forward vocal presentation. In terms of others in the $110 to $130 price range, the FiiO FH3 stands out as a good musical choice and is perhaps only bested by the more analytical TriStar C at this time, but it won't be able to keep up with other standout IEMs priced at $160 or beyond, such as the ICO OH10, the Final Audio A4000, or the Tantgem Hana. And just a reminder guys, make sure to hit subscribe here, like this video, leave some comments, and follow the channel at all other access locations such as Instagram, the blog, Twitter, or become a Patreon. The Patreon is only $1.50 a month and it gets you access to early written reviews like this one. And with that, I'm out for now.